Hi, everybody. Welcome to another edition of San Francisco 49ers Live here on Niners Radio, here at the Satellite Digital Media Broadcast Center here in San Francisco. We are going to be on live right now as live view the Niners winning the NFC West by a score of 21-13. That was on Thursday Night Football. You see it on Amazon Prime. The Niners winning their second NFC Western Division championship in the past 4 seasons, their third playoff appearance in the last 4 years. As we're getting you all on here on Niners Radio, wherever you guys are on or wherever you're at, and on 49ers Live. I'm right now watching the monitor on our satellite digital media, or actually on NFL Network, the Minnesota Vikings with that thrilling comeback with a 36 to they were 1 point down, 33-0, and they have scored. They have come back to score 33 unanswered points. The Colts, they've held the Colts to just one field goal. Right now, they're in overtime with 5 minutes and 10 seconds left to play. The Vikings are getting ready to punt the ball off. The Colts getting ready to get the ball back. What that means is if the Colts score once, if they score one time in this on their possession, they will win the game. This game has a lot of significance for the 49ers because the Niners are just a half game behind the Vikings in the NFC playoff picture. The Niners trying to get it to move into the number 2 spot because if they we're going to get everybody on here. If the Niners do win, or if the Vikings were to go on or the Colts were to win, the Colts right now, and looking on our monitor, whoever scores first in this contest, if the Colts score right here, the game is over. And we're going to be monitoring that game right now on Niners Radio. We're going to recap the game in a few moments. We're going to just keep you monitored. We can't show you the game live because of NFL Network copyright, so we don't want to get in no trouble with the YouTube, so we play it strictly by the rule book. So, and also, we're live. You guys are watching here. The Colts are now 2nd and 5, and Matt Ryan looking for his target, and that is, I believe it's the wide receiver, number 11. That's good enough for a first down. Patrick Peterson is down on the count. He's just got the little bit of the wind knocked out of him. We'll keep you score on this ball game right now. And here on Niners Live, catching us on YouTube, youtube.com/@NinersRadio49. You can see the content here on Niners Radio. We're going to get you a recap of Saturday's game. Just a reminder, if you want to check us out on Niners Radio, it's going to be youtube.com/@NinersRadio49. That's going to be on YouTube. Also, Facebook.com/NinersRadio49. And the Colt as Matt Ryan was facing that pressure of the Vikings swarming defense. Now it's a second down play. And then on our satellite digital media news feed, we're going to give you Niners. We're going to get those guys out there on there live right now. So now it's a 2nd and 10 for the Indianapolis Colts. Reminder again, the winner, whoever whoever, and they're looking a review of that play on second down. It looked like it was a fumble. They're going to rule if that pass was incomplete or not. For those of you who are watching on Facebook.com, welcome into our Niners Radio presented by Ticketmaster. Ticketmaster is the official ticket provider of your San Francisco 49ers. So now it's 2nd and 9. So they ruled that, I think, an incomplete, or if they did, they picked up only nothing but 1 yard of the play, 2nd and 9. And the Vikings defenders playing the hit on that number 11 wide receiver. So it's an incomplete pass. That brings up a third down. All of you are on Niners Radio, Facebook.com/Niners Radio. Welcoming in to our podcast, live podcast. And also, we're welcoming in City Ball watching our stream. It's now 39. The Colts need to get to about the 35 for a first. And Ryan under pressure, and he gets the first down. Correction. He gets the first down complete to the wide receiver. It's Pittman Jr., the wide receiver. That's good enough for a first down. So I'm doing a little bit of our combination of doing some multitasking, hosting the podcast, and just giving you the descriptions of the game. A reminder that whoever scores the next points will win. So it's a stop right there by Phillips. Colts coming in with a 4-8. Vikings with a win today would win the NFC North. The Colts were 4-8-1, taking over as former Colt All-Pro Jeff Saturday for the recent fired Frank Wright. The Colts are just clinging to their playoff lives. A loss today would eliminate them from the playoff picture in the AFC. We will also take a look of the whole AFC playoff, both NFL playoff picture, other games coming up. The Bills, the next game on NFL Network, it's going to be the Ravens and the Browns in Cleveland. Then the nightcap, the primetime nightcapper, Miami at Buffalo. And it's supposed to be snowing, and they're at the 2-minute warning right now. So if this game ends to a tie, if they're 10-3-1, the tie kind of does help Minnesota. It does not help San Francisco. 10-3-1 and 10-4, the Niners would be a half game back. McLaughlin on the sideline for the Colts, trying to get that game-winning field goal. The tie would help the Vikings because they'll be 10-3-1. The Niners will be 10-4. They'll be a half game back. Reminder, the Niners, if the Vikings lose, the Niners will have the tiebreaker because they have a better conference record. 2nd and 9. Ryan calling the signals. Back to throw Ryan. Look for his receiver. Breaks to the outside. And it was Pittman who was on the call. It's the stop by Boyd, correction. And Vikings defense putting the swarm pressure on Matt Ryan. As I muted down the volume screen right now, it's 3rd and 9. Minnesota has called a timeout, so now they've got one left. Both teams in the overtime sudden death period in the 5th quarter has 2 timeouts. Anything and all instant replays will be no challenges in the booth. Will be replayed all under review by the officials in the overtime period. 3rd down and 9. Shotgun formation. Ryan back to pass under pressure. He throws it downfield. It is incomplete. Intended. And it's 4th down and 9. That means the Colts will have to punt. They will have to punt it away now on fourth down. We're just doing some multitasking. And while they're getting ready to punt, we'll just a reminder, Niner fans, if you want to get your NFC West Championship shirts and caps, they're now on sale right now at the 49ers team store. If for all of you in the Bay Area, if you're over there in the South Bay, in the San Jose, Santa Clara area, the team store is open right now. They'll open today at 5 until 5 o'clock at the team's flagship store at Levi Stadium in Santa Clara. So the caps are from $29.99. The T-shirts are $49.99. Wow. Shirts are going crazy these days. They're the team shirts and caps are just so expensive. So you're paying $29.99, round that up to a nearest dollar. That's $30 for the cap, $45 for the shirt. You're paying a lot. And the Vikings, that is Dalvin Cook with the ball carrier. I think it was Dalvin Cook. And that will be now 2nd and 4. $124. Dalvin Cook so far for the Vikings, 17 carries for 95 yards for Minnesota. He's the leading ball carrier for the Vikings. 2nd and 4. They need to get to about the 29th first down. Back to throw. He has his time under pressure. He throws complete to the wide receiver. Breaks to the outside. Breaks to the other side. That's enough for Vikings first down. That is Osborne, the wide receiver, with that play. Kirk Cousins, 427 yards, 4 touchdowns. KJ Osborne, 10 receptions for 157 yards and a touchdown. Cousins back to throw. He has his time. He throws it. It is complete to the tight end. Or no, not. It's the wide receiver. Vikings are trying to pull off the greatest comeback in NFL history. Nearly 30 years ago, back on January 3rd, 1993, it was the Buffalo Bills coming back down 35-3 to defeat the Houston Oilers in that miracle wildcard finish, and the throw is incomplete. That was by former Colts head coach and Bills backup quarterback Frank Wright that engineered the Bills to that miracle finish against the Oilers in that AFC wildcard playoff game back nearly 30 years ago, back in January 3rd, 1993. We also know the 49ers in that situation nearly 20 years ago came back down 38-14, and yours truly was there at that game. As I remember, a lot of 49er fans left for the turnstiles, left to the parking lots, and I stayed in and watched a slice of history. Niners ended up coming back scoring, winning 39-38, 38-14. So as they would come back to score 25 unanswered points. And then we remember the Matt Bryant field goal, Trey Junkin, the two poor, horrible snaps, gave the bad snap at the end, which Rich Seibert should have been a pass, illegal man downfield was the call, but should have been pass interference. Both penalties should have offset, but no prevail. Giant Niners will come back with that miracle finish, and I was there. Vikings have no timeouts left. It's 20 seconds left to play in regulation. The tie would probably help the Vikings complete. That's the first down to the 30-yard line. It's 13 seconds left. 10 seconds. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3. There's a flag. There is a flag. And anything under 2 minutes, we'll see what happens. If it's a 10-second runoff, then the game is over. The Vikings will have to settle for a tie. A reminder, if the Colts lose this game, if the Colts end this one in a tie, they'll go to 4-8-2. So pretty much if they win in a tie, they will win the NFC North. So the Niners, if this holds up, the Niners will trail by a half game. It's against the Colts. delay a game. So that's a 5-yard penalty. It was Jefferson. And you just, for a defender, you just cannot do that. So that gives the Vikings one field goal and the game is over. Joseph's going to go in. Greg Joseph, he has 6 career game-winning field goals in the final 2 minutes or in overtime. 40-yard attempt. If he makes this, the Vikings will win the NFC North. A timeout has been called. 7 seconds left. Watching this game on my monitor in our satellite digital media studios in San Francisco. Vikings have won a lot of close games this year. Vikings would win the NFC North. A loss for the Colts, and they are a tie, and it's all over for them. They will be out of the playoffs. The Colts squandered a 30-0 lead. The Vikings have come back and scored 33 unanswered points and held the Colts to just 3 points in the second half. 40-yard attempt, 7 seconds left to play. The clock doesn't matter. If he makes it, the Vikings will win the game and they win the NFC North. Ball plays down. The kick is on its way. Has a distance, and it is good. It is good. The Minnesota Vikings have pulled off the miracle. They come from behind, down 30-0. They score 33 unanswered points, and the Greg Joseph hits a 40-yard field goal, and the Vikings are the champions of the NFC North. The final in U.S. Bank, the largest comeback in NFL history. They trailed 33-0, to be exact, as they end up outscored the Colts 33-3 throughout the entire second half. The Minnesota Vikings are the champions of the NFC North, and they will now improve their record to 11-3. The Niners, who have won the NFC West, remains one game back of the Vikings with only 3 games left to play. And for the Indianapolis Colts, a heartbreaker, which this game has been typified of the entire season. They dropped to 4-9-1, and the loss for the Colts, they have been eliminated from playoff contention. So you got to give credit. That game has just ended. They're going to switch it over to the Baltimore Ravens Cleveland Browns game, and that game is just getting underway in Cleveland. So we'll give you the final totals on that game in just a moment. You're watching on satellite on Niners Radio live on our YouTube platform and on Facebook, Professor B Media. We got it also via Niners Radio as well on our Facebook page. Just a reminder again, if you want to get your 49ers cap and shirt, you could go to the 49ers team store. For those of you who are in the Bay Area, in the Santa Clara area, or if you're in that area doing some Christmas shopping, your shirt and cap, they're right now at the Niners team store at Levi Stadium. It is $29.99 for the cap, $49.99 for the shirt. If you go in person today, it'll be one shirt per person because they have a lot in high demand. Looking at the scoreboard right now, Cleveland Browns, they're in the second quarter. So in case you just tuned in, the Vikings with that miracle finish. Another come-from-behind victory for the Vikings. They're now 10-3, keeping the pressure on the 40. Now the pressure is on San Francisco as they will have to now win. They will have to win, most likely win their final 3 games. And hopefully that they could get some help and they could as well. So we'll get everybody out there who are watching on Facebook Live into our feed. But we'll get to our recap of the Niners Seahawks game coming up in a little bit. So we've just been doing some good multitasking. We're going to be on today till about for a little bit this afternoon. We'll recap today's the Thursday night game. We'll get you on board, and disappointed by the Colts. This loss, I think, kind of been simplified of the microcosm the entire season. We will just give you a recap of that game from week number 15, a wild one up in Minneapolis. The Niners are going to have to most likely do the dirty work now. And that's what we talk about, the game, like Yogi Berra, it's never over till it's over. And, it's never over till it's over. And it's a 60-minute game. But you got to give the Vikings a lot of credit for winning another come-from-behind victory, which they nearly blew. But, you got to give the Colts, who was one first down. They were just one first down away when Matt Ryan couldn't get that first down. One first down, a half yard short of possibly running out the clock. But you got to give the Colts, you got to give the Vikings, as I say, a lot of credit for fighting back, And they are the champions of the NFC North. First time in 5 years. The last time they did it was back in 2017. They won the NFC North, and they went all the way to the NFC Championship game. And, I'm just not a big fan of that skull. Very annoying sound, The Colts got outscored 33. They end up, if you throw in they end up scoring 39 unanswered points. They were outscored in the regulation 36-3. Overall, 39-3 in the second half, including the sudden death overtime period. And the Vikings are the new champions of the NFC North. So we're going to take a look at that NFC playoff picture as well. This was a game the Colts really needed to win, but it was a tale of two halves, and this loss by the Colts kind of been a microcosm of their entire season. A lot of people complained about, 2 weeks ago, the Colts probably should have even never been on the Sunday Night Football telecast on NBC. Should have been flexed out instead for the 49ers and the Miami Dolphins, because that was the better matchup, because they just got obliterated by the Dallas Cowboys, America's team, for Sunday Night Football, which I think the Niners and Dolphins would have been the better slate for that primetime game. And on our scoreboard ticker right now, the Browns lead the Ravens 3-0 at First Energy Stadium in Cleveland. And the Ravens are 9-4. They're tied with Cincinnati for first place in the AFC North. And so we'll take a look of our playoff picture standings. So right now, with the Vikings win, they now go to 11-4. 11-3, I should say. Even if they would have tied, they would have still been a half game up. But the Niners need to win one of their final three, and the Vikings need to lose one of their final three for the Niners to get the number 2 seed. And the Colts, with that defeat, have been eliminated from playoff contention. Look at the standings now. It's the Eagles 12-1. The Vikings still are a game and a half back for that. The Niners are 10-4. The Buccaneers are 6-7. The wild card, in the NFC, Dallas is 10-3. Washington 7-5-1. The Giants are 7-5-1. On the bubble, the Seahawks are now 7-7. Detroit sits at 6-7. They're a half game back. The Packers are at 5-8. They need a win on tomorrow against the Rams to have that chance. And some of the troll, I'm looking at some of the comments that they said that they hate the Vikings, and one fan and the Colts even more. Colts being outscored 39-3 in the entire second half. And, you got to give them. And the Colts could not get that one first down. They couldn't even buy a first down. They get the first down, then we're not even having this conversation. And, you got to give the Vikings credit. They've won a lot of close games. We're going to give you the stats of that game in a moment. We want to. So. So 36, it's the largest comeback in NFL history. And I know for Jeff Saturday, he's going to be taking a lot of heat for not going for that field goal. That's another point as well. And I think if they get a field goal with over 2 minutes, it's a 2-possession game. It would have been over with. But he's decided to go for it. He was just a half yard short was the difference. And they could not kick that. They could not get that first down. So I'm just texting somebody. I'm going to be doing a podcast interview with. I'll be doing a podcast interview with John Chapman from 49ers Rush. We'll be recapping the Niners and Seahawks game. I will be doing a podcast on that in a little while. So I was just we're going to be doing that. We're going to be doing that game next week. So we'll be talking about that. So we'll be talking about that game. A lot's going on. A lot's going on. A lot's going on right now. We'll be doing that podcast. We'll try to get that streamed up on. We'll get that thing on. We'll get that on StreamYard. We're gonna post that up either on StreamYard or we'll post it up on Zoom. So this is gonna be a good treat, though. Good treat. We'll have talk with John Chapman of the 49ers radio. We're gonna right now. We're gonna just right now on our scoreboard update. Those you watching on satellite digital media, it is the Cleveland Browns leading the Ravens 3-0, and this is an important game for the and this is an important game for the Bengals. Bengals will be playing tomorrow. We're gonna just give you the. So again, if uh, here we go. So I'm just gonna start. Yep. So yep. Yep. So we're gonna continue on Niners radio. We're monitoring the game. We're gonna quickly. I want to try to just quickly recap of some of the. We're gonna set up with that interview with my man John Chapman. So we're going to just recap that game on the scoreboard. That was the final. In case you're just tuning in, we'll give you the final numbers of this game. I know for Niner fans, disappointment, like we always talk about, you cannot control what goes on there. You only can control what you can control. And, the Niners took care of their business and they won the NFC West, and that's what matters. And, you know, if if the season ended today, the Niners would have to most likely play the Vikings in the second round. They're guaranteed to only play at least one home game. And, the Packers will play the Vikings again in Green Bay. And, the Vikings could beat the Packers can beat the Vikings in Green Bay. Looking at the I mean, it was 1.33-0 in the first half. And after that, the Vikings outscored them in the second half. 33-0. So they outscored them in the second half 30, 39 to Yep. So they outscored them 39-3 the entire second half. And we'll just get some of the numbers on here on Niners Radio. We're just doing a little extra recap of the game for Niner fans who was pulling for the Colts. And, you know, the Vikings, 32 first downs. They were 5 of 15 on third downs. Total yards, 518 total yards for the Vikings to the Colts, 341. And this was the intriguing stat. The Vikings had 426 total passing yards to 170. The rushing 171 to 92, and the Vikings made more plays, 86 to 79. The completion attempts 34 out of 55, 19 out of 33. Total rush was 43-24. The Vikings had 3 turnovers. The Colts had that one big turnover that set up that touchdown. And that was the difference. The little things of detail we talk about. We talk about those little things. And then time of possession, the Colts outgained them in the time of possession, 36 minutes and 37 seconds to the Vikings, 33 minutes and 20 seconds. And here is the final totals of the game. Give you the final totals of the game as Kirk Cousins, he threw for 34 out of 54, 460 yards, 4 touchdown passes. Devin Cook carried for 17 attempts, 95 yards. KJ Osborne, 10 receptions for $157. And then looking at the individual stats for the Vikings, take a look at some of the stats. Justin Jefferson in the contest targeted 16 times, 12 catches, 123 yards. He averaged 10.3 yards a touchdown. Davin Cook had that big 64-yard touchdown catch and run that set up that game-tying 2-point conversion. Cook for the day, he was targeted 4 times. He had 95 yards in receptions, averaging 23 point yards. And then Cook had 17 carries, 95 yards. So for the day, he ended up for the day, just looking at some of the stats, pull up my calculator. He ended up having 190 all-purpose yards, and he had 17 carries, 190, and then he had 4. So I'm just adding this up. 190 divided by 21. Davin Cook, he had 190 yards all-purpose, 21 touches. Cook for the day, 190 yards. And he averaged 9 yards per touch per touch. So that was a great afternoon. And then looking at the Colts numbers, Matt Ryan was only 19 of 33, 182 yards and a touchdown. And then the wide receiver or the running back, Zach Moss, he ended up having 24 carries and 81 yards on the ground for the 81 yards on 24 carries. He averaged 3.3 yards per carry. and that's just not enough. They just didn't pass enough. Then Michael Pittman Jr. or not Michael Pittman Jr. It was Michael Pittman Jr. He ended up 60, 10 catches for 60 yards, and he averaged 6 yards per catch. So you look at the numbers, though, it was really, to be honest, the Colts really did not deserve. They just didn't do enough passing. They relied too much on the running game. I'm going to look at some other stats here on the Colts side. Matt Ryan or Kirk Cousins' quarterback rating was 99.3. And then Matt Ryan had 83.1 QB rating. So you're just not going to, if they would have just got that one first down, they were on their way of winning. That just the little things, a game of inches we talk about. That's just nothing but the game of inches, But the game of inches, we talk about it all the time, but the game of inches, and that's just part of, they kept on fighting, they deserved to win this game. So I'm gonna get all of you. So get some people who want to watch online. So I'm looking at some of these comments right now, saying it looked like the Niners going to have to do their own dirty work since the sorry Indianapolis Colts came in to hold water. I totally agree with you, Robert. And that's just the you can't control what you could only control what you could control. That's just life. Sometimes you gotta give the Vikings a lot of credit for fighting back, and they just didn't bow down. And the 12th minute, I mean, the same thing would happen back 20 years ago. I remember was at that playoff game watching the Niners, that miracle finish against the New York Giants. It didn't look good. Someone gave me their ticket to get in. He was totally disgusted how horribly the Niners played, and I'll never forget. And I will like I said, you could only control what you could control. You have nothing else, nowhere else you could do to control. You only can control what you could do on the field. So we're gonna. I definitely want to spend some time getting the recap of this Niners Seahawks game from last Sunday. And I will be getting off the air around 3:00 because I've got to get ready to do an interview with a podcast interview with John Chapman from Niners Rush. I got a chance to meet him for the first time 2 weeks ago when we were on our special assignment when the Niners took on the Miami Dolphins at this charitable event, the Niners and Dolphins, where we met the legends, Eric Wright, John Taylor, and the Marx brothers of the Miami Dolphins, Mark Clayton and Mark Duper. Great interview. We're gonna put that up in a couple. That's on our Niners radio page. I hope you enjoy it. We're gonna we'll talk about that game coming up. Just talk about the Niners, about this podcast. We're gonna have it on StreamYard, so I'm gonna be getting that set up though. We're gonna go on until about 3:00, and then but live view, in case you're just tuning in on Niners Radio Live, we're going to recap of that Niners Seahawks game. I just took a day off yesterday. And for all of you who want to get 49ers NFC West Division Championship caps and shirts, go online right now. You could go if you're in the Bay Area. If you're in the Bay Area, you can go out there in the South Bay, 49ers team store over at Levi Stadium. They're open today from 10 to 5 p.m. 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and they'll be open again tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. They're open Tuesdays through Thursdays, or Thursdays through Tuesdays, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. And then they have an off day Wednesday. They get their bye on Wednesday, off day on Wednesdays. Then they're back at Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Then Thursdays, it will be they'll open from 10 a.m. to 6 or to 5 p.m. Get your 49ers shirts and caps, NFC West championships. If you do, any of you watching right now, if you're in the Bay, all the Niner faithful in the Bay or in the North or in the South Bay, if you plan to get some tickets, if you plan to get tickets, if you want to get your shirts and Niners division championship shirts and gear. They're having one order shirt per person at press time at this time because the demand is very, very high. But if you're not able to make it out to their flagship store, as I'm watching on the monitor right now, not trying to get distracted, the Bills and Miami Dolphins game, they expect to have a big-time monsoon snowstorm hitting up in Buffalo. The turf is covered up. That game will be coming up at 5 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. You can catch the game on the NFL Network. Right now, it's the Ravens and the Browns at First Energy Stadium in Cleveland. It is a 3-3 score. Brian Professor B. Davis for you on Niners Radio. So if you want to get your Niners Division Championship shirts and caps, any other team merchandise, go to 49ers.com or shop49ers.com. Your home for San Francisco 49ers football. So we're going to just recap the Niners and Seahawks game. We'll be on till about at least 3 o'clock because I'm going to start doing this podcast taping as we're going to have my man John Chapman for 49ers Rush on. We're going to recap the Niners Seahawks. What was the adventure like being up there in the Pacific Northwest as the Niners are the champions of the NFC West? By the way, for the 49ers, in case you don't know, for the 49ers, and this is the Professor B's Niners fun fact. And I'm going to pull this up right now. For the 49ers, this franchise in their 77th season, in 76 years, and their 77th season, the 49ers this is going to be their taking a look at that's their 21st NFC West championship division titles. They end up winning this is their 21st NFC West championship. That's the most by any team in the NFL since the NFL in pro football since the NFL AFL merger, since the 1970 league merger, and their 29th playoff appearance since joining the NFL in 1950. They did make the playoffs only one time as the original members of the All-American Football Conference in 1949. They made their first ever playoff appearance as a charter member of the NFL in 1957. They lost that heartbreaking. Losing that heartbreaker to the. They lose that heartbreaker to the Detroit Lions in that playoff game. Detroit Lions, led by the quarterback legend, the late Bobby Lane, led them to that championship win in 1957, and that was the closest that San Francisco got back to being a championship team. And then, of course, they won the NFC West in 1970, 71, and 72. This 1970 was the franchise's 25th season. They end up winning the NFC West, and then beat the Minnesota Vikings in that divisional playoff game up up in Bloomington at the old Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington, Minnesota, where the where that is where the Mall of America is today, up in Bloomington, where the Vikings' original home at the old original home at Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington, Minnesota. And then that was that, and then of course they end up losing to the Dallas Cowboys in the NFC Championship game in January of '71, which, by the way, that was the final game at Kezar Stadium. They lost 17-10 to the Cowboys, who the Cowboys ended up losing to the Baltimore Colts in Super Bowl V. And then in 1971, they would a year later they would move from their old original home from Kezar Stadium to move all the way out southwest to the southeast sector of town, to Candlestick Park, where we're not far from where the Niners' old home used to be at Candlestick Park. They would win the West again. They would beat Washington Redskins in the playoffs, but unfortunately they lost to the Cowboys in the NFC Championship game for the second year in a row, up and down in Big D, 14-3, as the Cowboys would go on to beat the Miami Dolphins in Super Bowl VI. Then coming up, this next coming week will be the 50th anniversary. They talk about the 50-year anniversary of people will remember. That was Black Sunday for Bay Area 49er fans. It was a dark day in Bay Area sports history, as the 49ers would lose who blew a big lead to the Cowboys. They had a double-digit lead with 2 minutes left to play, 24-13. And they were only 2 minutes away from advancing to the NFC Championship game for the second time in 3 years. Unfortunately, they would end up losing a devastating heartbreaker, as Roger Staub, the Cowboys had that one possession. Then Preston Riley fumbled the onside kick. The Cowboys get the ball back. Roger Staubach marched and threw the game-winning touchdown. They end up winning that game 27-24, a devastating, heartbreaking loss for the Cowboys. For the Cowboys, it was a thrill. The thrill of a miracle finish. For the Niners, it was a devastating loss, which that sent the 49ers into a tailspin for the remainder of the 1970s. And then they would not, and it was on that same day. Next week will mark the 50-year anniversary in the early game, when the Raiders were victimized by the Pittsburgh Steelers in the immaculate reception play. Terry Bradshaw, the Frenchie Fuqua off deflection to Franco Harris, that really put the Steelers on the map that game, though they would lose to the eventual Super Bowl champion Miami Dolphins, who went a perfect 17-0. They lose to them in the AFC Championship the following week. And that was kind of, how that went. So that's how it went. And we're going to get back into the scores just a moment. So that was that. The Niners would not get back into postseason play till 1981. They would win the division in 81. Of course, they were going to win their first Super Bowl franchise history. Did again. And then, of course, the Niners went from 83 in at least 15 of the next, or 14 of the next 15 years. 14 of those next 15 years, or 14 of the next 15 years, they would win the NFC West from 83 to 97. And they had that stretch where they won at least 10 games or more. The Niners, by the way, on Sunday had back-to-back 10-win seasons for the first time since the 2013-14 season. Of course, Jim Harbaugh, the former Niners coach, led them to 3 straight years by winning at least 11 games or more. So And then more recently, the Niners won the West 3 years ago, and they win it again. So the Niners have the most division titles and the most playoff appearances, at least if you just throw out 1949 when they were still in the All American Football Conference and 1970. 27 playoff appearances, the most by any team in pro football since the 1970 league merger. And they have won a division title in at least and playing at Levi Stadium in their this is their ninth season at the Mecca in Santa Clara. Will so we're now at 242. We're gonna if I just like to remind you guys, if you want to help us out though, help donate to help stream this podcast, I'd be greatly appreciate that. We're gonna have to have a lot of help though to keep this thing maintained and try to earn its credibility. I know it's not easy with these streaming live events, but we're going to do the best we can possibly can. But it's part of that maturation process. You can check us out anytime at you check us out on YouTube. We could go to youtube.com/ at Niners Radio 49 or facebook.com/ Niners Radio 49. You can email me anytime at Niners Radio 49 at gmail.com as well. And then on my Twitter account, Brian Davis at Niners Radio 49. So let's get back. Let's take a look at the 49ers and the Minnesota or the Seattle Seahawks. Of course, in case you just missed it, the Vikings pull off another Minneapolis Miracle, number 2. They were down 33-0, and they come back and scored 39 unanswered points. In fact, they held the Colts to just one field goal, only 3 points in the entire second half. Other than that, they shut out the Colts in the second half. And really, I think Jeff Saturday is going to be taking a lot of heat for playing a little too much conservative, and they just could not get that one first down. And if they get the one first down and they missed it by a half yard, they came out just a buck short, it would have been the Colts, not the Vikings. The Niners would move into that number 2 spot in the NFC because they would have had the tiebreaker advantage over the Vikings because of a better conference record. So and I'm just reading this little post. I'll read it in just a moment. So let me just scroll this up. So we break down this game. We're going to give you a recap of this game, the Niners and Seahawks from the other day. And the Niners really dominated this game. And we'll set it up like this. In the first quarter, it was Brock Purdy throwing a touchdown pass to George Kittle in the middle for a 28-yard TD. And Robbie Gould made the field goal and made it 7-0 San Francisco. Then Jason Myers of the Seahawks kicked a 38-yard field goal and made it 7-3 in favor of the Niners. Then Christian McCaffrey rushed up the middle for a 1-yard touchdown run and made it 14-3 49ers. Then the second half, third quarter, Brock Purdy hooked up with George Kittle again for a 54-yard catch and run touchdown that made it 21-3 San Francisco. Then Jason Myers boomed a 51-yard field goal. It was 21-6 San Francisco. Geno Smith passed to Noah Fant in the middle for a 10-yard touchdown, made 21-13. So let's give you the stats of the game. And we'll give you the stats presented by Zinni. Zinni is the official eyewear for the San Francisco 49ers. So we had 15 first downs for the Niners to the Seahawks 16. Then third down, Niners were 6 of 13. Seahawks 4 of 13. Fourth down, neither team converted. 381 total net yards to 277 for San Francisco. San Francisco really dominated the game. 211 yards passing, 207 for the Seahawks. 170 yards rushing for the Niners to 70 for the Seahawks. Both teams had 61 total plays apiece, 17 of 26 completion attempts for the Niners to 31-44 for the Seahawks. Total rush plays, the Niners 34 total rushes, Seahawks 14. The Niners were +1 in the turnovers, and they did not commit no turnovers. Seattle was committed that one turnover. Niners were penalized 7 times for 60 yards, while the Seahawks were penalized 8 times for 79 yards. Time of possession, 33 minutes in a second, 33:01 for the 49ers, to the Seahawks, 26 minutes and 59 seconds. The individual stats, Brock Purdy, 17 of 26 for 217 yards and 2 touchdowns. CMC Christian McCaffrey, 26 carries for 108 yards, averaged 4.2 per yards per game. He was targeted 8 times for 6 catches for 30 yards. In the game, he had 32 touches for 138 yards, a touchdown, averaging 4.3 yards per touch. George Kittle targeted 5 times, 4 catches for 93 yards, 2 touchdowns, averaging 23.2 yards per catch. And then Jordan Mason had a great game, filling in for the injured Elijah Mitchell, 4 carries, 64 yards, averaging 16 yards a carry. Juan Jennings, targeted 5 times, 3 catches for 31 yards. Croft caught a big 28-yard catch reception. Brandon Ayuk targeted 4 times, 2 catches for 19 yards. Ray McLeod, 4 catches for 2 yards, averaging 19.5 yards. Robbie Gould, he was 0 for 1 in field goals. He was 3 for 3 in extra points. Mitch Wisnowski, who's probably going to make the Pro Bowl, punted 6 times, averaging 42.2 yards per punt, the longest 46 yards. So with the win, the Niners improved the record. They now go to 10-4. Seahawks fall to 7-7. A damaging loss for the Seahawks. Niners, by the way, complete their first season sweep over the Seahawks for the first time since the 2011 season. So we're just going to give you a quick around of the NFL scoreboard here in week number we'll give you a quick recap or what's going to go on in week number 15. Right now, scoreboard is right now the Browns leading the Ravens 6-3. Dolphins and the Bills will play later tonight at up in Orchard Park, New York. Here's the slate for all the games on Sunday. Philadelphia is playing the Bears. A win for the Eagles. They win the NFC. They could wrap up the NFC East with a win and a Cowboys loss. Atlanta will be at New Orleans. Detroit Lions will be taking on the Jets for an interconference matchup at the Meadowlands. That's an important game for both teams. The Lions right now are 6-7, or correction, they're 6-7, and they trail by at least a game and a half behind both the Commanders and the Giants. Steelers will take on the Panthers. That's an early game. Dallas will play the Jacksonville Jaguars for an interconference game in Jacksonville. That will be a 10 a.m. kick. Eagles could win the division with a win and a Cowboys loss to the Jaguars. The Chiefs will take on the struggling Houston Texans. That's an early game. They have a division title that could possibly be wrapped up as early as on Sunday. The Cardinals will take on the Broncos in Denver. Both teams have struggled all year. Patriots and Raiders, that's a 105 game in Vegas. Titans will take on the Chargers in SoFi Stadium in in Inglewood. The game of the day for on CBS will be the Bengals and the Buccaneers. That's a 125 kickoff on CBS at the Sombrero at the Pirate Ship at Raymond James Stadium. Giants will take on the Commanders for the NBC game. That's a 5:20 p.m. kickoff. Then the Rams will take on the Packers for Monday Night Football as the defending Super Bowl champion Rams have completely struggled. And the Rams are on their way to suffer through one of their worst seasons by a defending Super Bowl champion in a non-strike season ever. That will be Monday night 5:15 on ESPN and ABC. So that is all what happened in the NFL. As we're going to get ready to wrap it up for this edition of Niners Radio. Just like to say again, congratulations to the 49ers winning the NFC West, and they're taking this next step to try to make that run to the Super Bowl. As you know, what has happened throughout this point with all the injuries and everything, the Niners are in good shape. So let's just give you what's going to be on deck. Niners and the Commanders will be at the Mecca. We'll be out at the Mecca next Saturday, 1 week from today. It will be Niners and the Commanders. Kickoff time is at 1:25. It's a 1:25 kickoff time. This game will be on CBS in the Bay Area. It'll be on KPIX CBS 5 for that Niners-Commanders game on Christmas Eve. It will also have another edition of 49, a special edition, a holiday edition of 49ers Tailgate, the holiday edition. We're going to have a nice time, hang out with the Empire Row, Faithful Boulevard, and we'll be talking with the fans. It's going to be a nice holiday festivities doing the tailgate for you and the family. So please stay tuned and hope we can enjoy us. And there are plenty of tickets are still available for this for the Niners and the Commanders. Go to 49ers.com/tickets or Ticketmaster.com as well. So the Niners will play next Saturday. That'll be next Saturday, kickoff time, 1:25. You can get your tickets at 49ers.com/tickets or Ticketmaster.com. And then 2 weeks from tomorrow, the Niners will be in Vegas as we ring in 2023. They will take on the Raiders for an interconference matchup. An old interconference rivalry matchup. That will be a 1:05 kickoff. That will be on Sunday. Then in 3 weeks from tomorrow, they'll wrap up the regular season finale against the Arizona Cardinals. And we'll be back for Niners Radio Live later on sometime next week. I will be posting up doing that interview with John Chapman for 49ers Rush. We hope you enjoyed yourself. If you're out there, wherever you're at in the Bay Area or beyond, if you're out doing some Christmas shopping, please drive safely and be safe out there. And, hey, the Niners are playing the best football, the best defense in the NFL, and they're going to play. They're going to finish. This is going to team going to finish strong. And hey, it's no crying over spilled milk. Hey, the Vikings came back and did their thing, and our congratulations to the Vikings of winning the NFC North. And the Niners, they have to do the dirty work. All they have to do is win out, and the Vikings lose one of their final three, and the Niners will be the number 2 seed. That's it for now. All of you watching on YouTube, on Niners Radio, on YouTube, and on Facebook, thank you for joining us this afternoon. And we, once again, drive safely, be safe out there, and so long. I am Brian Professor B. Davis, and thank you for watching this another edition of 49ers Live, presented by Ticketmaster. Ticketmaster, the official ticket provider for your San Francisco 49ers. Thank you for watching live, and please check in for all the latest news and so much more. Go to 49ers.com. I'm Brian Professor B. Davis. Thank you for watching 49ers Live on Niners Radio. Niners Radio is an association with the Satellite Digital Media News Network, where every team has a fan, and every fan has a voice. the network home for your playoff-bound NFC West champion San Francisco 49ers. 49ers football, faithful then, faithful now. Go Niners!